G'day, listeners. Welcome to Bar Karate, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer, and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors. But, of course, I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. Obviously, no Brett Perry still. I'll bring Bice in and we can talk about that.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
G'day, John. Is that what they call you now?
Yeah, that was funny, wasn't it?
But before I get onto it, though, BP noticeably missing. For the listeners, though, he is coming back.
Yep.
He's obviously just dealing with what he needs to deal with now with everything around the X2, but we will be getting the absolute lowdown at some point in time. So stand by. And, you know, I took the piss out of the Etchells all that time, and it's probably – we're not avoiding the discussion, put it that way. It's going to happen. The discussion will be happening. So, cool. And back to you, John. Mate, is there anything else you don't do? So you're now writing articles. Yeah. Is this correct?
Yeah. Well, John Spencer is.
Mate, so you're going to be a published author.
Sue Ellen. Sure. Sue Ellen's team. So Live, Sail, Die published. I did a press release for the 5-0 Worlds coming up and published it with my name as John Spencer. Yes, so I had to have a bit of a chuckle about that. Who's this John Spencer? He writes well.
He writes well. Mate, and you're off to the Sail GP?
Yep.
The hostess with the mostess?
Yeah.
You're going to be just... giving them the best in Plymouth.
Be with my old mate Dee Kafari, of course.
Oh, fantastic.
Get to hang out with
That'll
Dee.
be good.
And Dylan, my mate Dylan.
Yep.
Our mate.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Well, but before we do kick off, I've got another vocation for you.
Oh, yes.
Stand by. So this has just come out in the news this week in Australia, and I thought I'd give you the heads up on the show. I won't even give you a little heads up prior. Sperm banks are on the hunt for red-haired donors with demand for Ranger children on the rise.
No doubt.
Forget redhead, no friends. According to recent reports from the US, parents are desperate for their little ones to be of the flame-haired kind.
Look, you know, every thing goes in cycles, and I knew the redheads were going to get it, but now that I'm too old and too unattractive for any females in the world, it's just not fair, you know.
Mate, well, that's the beauty of a sperm donor, I guess, so you've still got a job. So check this, though. The spike in popularity has been attributed to the mega popular podcast Bar Karate, according to the Ginger Challenge. It might have said something about Ed Sheeran and Prince Harry, but So there you go, mate. Yeah. Just something else. I'm not sure what you're going to put on your business card, though.
No idea, my friend. No idea. It's a bit sad to be travelling without you. I'll be honest. I'm just. I'll be very keen to catch up with you on a plane, like we've done once or twice in the past, or in some lounge.
When I beat you at that general knowledge game. We all remember that.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Enough.
Okay. Right, tonight's going to be an interesting one. I'm really keen to get into some good detail here tonight. A few years ago, after the Team SCA project, some of the team members got together and formed the Magenta project, which is working to drive or sort of promote, keep women sailing at the forefront and try and grow it and see women sailing as, for what it is, talented people. We want more of them in the sport. We want as many as possible in the sport, and it makes our sport better. So Magenta Project, we've been behind them 100% the whole time since Bar Karate formed. We're friends with most of the founders. And then the other day we saw this little headline pop out that they've got a new executive leader, I think, is what the press release was, the Chief Coordination and Engagement Officer. And we thought, you know what, we've not actually done a Magenta Project specifically focused episode. So the time is right. So we reached out and we've got Meg Reilly on the phone. How are you, Meg?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Meg,
welcome to the show, Meg. Despite the intro, I'm pretty sure we'll keep everything as clean as we can for
You'll
now.
be kind. You'll be kind. Oh, well, clean. Well, I'm going to have to keep my own F-bombs
exactly.
for myself.
Yeah, no.
I am from New York, New Jersey, so I'm trying to keep it clean myself.
You are from New York, New Jersey, so you obviously we're talking to you in the United States right now.
No, I'm actually in Gosport, not by choice, but by situation. But yeah, I've been here before 10 years ago doing the Clipper race and now back. Opportunity with Magenta. We got some activations going on at Cows Week. And also my husband is now working on a new team project, but I'm not allowed to talk about that. That's embargoed for a couple of weeks. But, there's only so many pro sailing teams in ocean racing over here, so I'll let you connect the dots if you want.
Well, that's pretty clear. Just reading, yeah. So we'll be sure to share a few posts on that.
Yeah,
but I'm sure we're not
awesome.
the only super sleuths in this listening to this, and they'll be pretty easy to work out.
So,
but lovely
awesome.
Gosport. We've all many a professional sailor has spent many a time there. It's almost like doing your dues there, of which you would have done 10 years ago, and then to visit Gosport one more time, you're like,
oh yeah, not much has changed
better.
in the last decade.
Hey, well, let's talk about you a bit, just so before we get into the whole Magenta project thing. So, New Jersey, a world famous sailing destination. So you grew up as a sailor from a young age, correct?
No, actually, power boating is a little bit more popular. So grew up doing that along the Jersey Shore. And actually, I got into sailing through the Clipper race. So I learned how to sail on the Solent and then did racing around the world and only came back to do sailing in New York after all of that and got involved in a sailing school there. So there is sailing outside of New York City, but it's still a river. And I know that, America's Cup and Sail GP were there and sailors hated it. Sponsors loved it. So, being a New Yorker, I love seeing sailing events coming, even if it's a little bit challenging, but that's good, right? That makes us better sailors.
So being on the water isn't a foreign subject, but the transition from Jersey Shore powerboating into the Clipper, how'd that come about?
And did you have to take your frosted tips out, or what was it?
I always had an affinity for the water. I'd been on sailboats before, but not without a glass of wine in hand and not really responsible for much. So I actually was in advertising, Madison Avenue, doing that whole business marketing track. And I read an article on CNN that said, people who leave their day jobs to sail around the world. And I'm like, hey, that's something I would probably do. So I was 22 at the time, and I quit my job the next year to go join the Clip Around the World race. And the whole pitch was that no sailing experience required. They pretty much set it all up for you. And circumnavigating was kind of a retirement dream for me. And that's one of the reasons why I was in business. I'm going to go get a sailboat and see the world, when I'm like 60 and plus, and, maybe that I'd have to work a long time to get there. But then I found an opportunity to do it then and now. I pitched a sponsor, got it fully covered. So used my marketing expertise to make it happen and became a circumnavigator at 24. So that was awesome. Yeah. And that kind of, changed my life, to say the least.
Before we get into depth on that, we have to ask, you're in New York, you've dicked around on power boats, this sounds nice, I'll sail around the world. What did the fantasy and the reality, how close did they come?
I really didn't even know what I was getting in for. And when I told my dad, who was in the U.S. Navy for a little while, not because he was a patriot, but he received a similar advertisement, see the world, join the Navy. Yep. So kind of followed along his footsteps that way. And I told him that I had signed up for this, and he goes, well, you don't know what you're in for, pal. But he knew that he couldn't convince me otherwise. And he was right. And I didn't even watch really any videos. I had no idea what the Southern Ocean was like. I was so naive. And I think that naivete really kind of helped me get into it without any fears. I didn't have myself to tell me I couldn't do it. And I think not enough people knew me well enough not to tell me not to do it either, so that I would probably be more motivated. But then when I got out there and started training, I wasn't prepared for, first of all, seasickness. I was so ill. But then I'm also stubborn. So I was kind of mentally preparing myself to be ill for an entire year as my new normal. But luckily that changed. But my first night out, especially, being in a city girl kind of, that my first night out on the water, I saw my first shooting star of my life. And then I saw 3 more that same night watch. So I was sold. I really got that whole romantic side of sailing.
Yep.
And training was super intensive, but I was eager and really excited, just because I had so much development ahead of me. The sailor that I am now would have hated me and probably would have, never signed up for something like that. So I'm glad that I really started at kind of ground zero. But I think what training didn't really prepare me for was extreme boredom at sea. Training was so active. You're constantly putting reefs in and out, sail changes, looking back at the skipper. Any time off was tea time, snack time, meal time, whatever. Otherwise you're doing something. So crossing the Atlantic for the first time, and our skipper was really focused on staying, in the game. We rarely even played music. So I was bored to tears at some point. And then that's when I really got into driving, just because it was something to do. And I really, really enjoyed that and just kept getting better. And luckily had a really supportive team that was willing to, put in the time to help me develop. And then halfway around the world became an assistant watch leader and just kept putting in the effort and time from stem to stern, getting up on the bow and doing as much work as I can. And being 22 helped. A lot of the other crew members were 50 plus. So they're like, yeah, you go do that.
Yeah, sure.
You know why?
Exactly.
You must have forged some extremely strong friendships throughout that experience.
Yeah, I didn't get rid of one guy. I'm married to him. So he's still around, one of my crewmates. And yeah, it's totally different. The friendships that you forge offshore and then, compared to business relationships, and all of my crews that I've had, since then, it's really like a family. And that's what I love so much. And also why I love mixed teams, because that's how I got into offshore sailing, being part of a mixed team. And our team was usually 25% to a third female. And, but, crossing the Pacific, all of our major drivers were female, and the female talent was great. And I loved how, we were leaders. We were just as active as everybody else. We were on the bow, we were driving. And because it was an amateur race, we didn't have those egos and the pros and those kind of things that can kind of make women feel like they are not at that top level. It really was, you want to put in the effort, you want to be there, you want to show up, you can be, a leader in the team. And that felt great.
Wow. So this was 2013, 14?
Correct.
Did you jump straight off and want to join the Team SEA at that point in time? Did this create little bridge?
I mean, I knew that my skill level was not anywhere near, professional. And the Clipper race, is an amateur race, but we still went in the Southern Ocean with a 70-foot boat. I saw those waves. I was there. I was doing sail changes, and our team was pretty competitive. We ended up winning. So, we took it pretty seriously in terms of performance. And I got back to New York after the Clipper race, and I had kind of like a knee-jerk reaction just to apply to the same type of jobs that I left, and just didn't feel right. Did a couple of like marketing communications gigs on the side. But my skipper from the Clipper race, Eric Holden, who's Canadian, and he had ended up winning Rolex Sailor of the Year for Canada a couple months later. And my boyfriend and now husband, he also really wanted to do like Class 40, Open 60 kind of program. So I was trying to help them make that commercially viable and be more the business side of things and step away from the sailboat. And we were really lucky and fortunate to have connections with Wind Athletes Canada, which is a basically any non-Olympic sailing events and classes they support. And they had owned a Mocha 60 from a prior Vendée Globe campaign, Derek Hatfield's in 2008. And he unfortunately didn't make it all the way around, had the boat, I believe, left in New Zealand. The charity picked it up. They had brought it, done some West Coast stuff, and then it was left in Vancouver on the Hart for a few years. So the team got access to it, and we started campaigning for our skipper to do Vendée Globe. And again, we were so naive, having no idea what we were getting into at that high professional level. But we made it to the start line of the TJV and his qualifying B2B race later that year, and this was 2015. So for a bunch of 20-something-year-olds, it was pretty amazing how far we were able to get. But the boat itself just demanded so much. It was aging. That was the first year with foils in terms of the rest of the fleet. So no way near competitive. And obviously our financials wouldn't allow us to be competitive either. And raising $250,000 wasn't even enough to barely get a new set of sails and rigging that it required. So we decided to kind of give the boat back to the charity after a year of campaigning. And then my husband and I decided to get a Pogo 12.5, which is a Class 40 cruiser, and run our own racing training program, Ocean Racers, on it. So that's what we've been doing for the past 6 years.
I was just thinking, there's something that popped out of into my head when you were talking there, is that sometimes naivety is a weapon. Because you just don't know.
It is.
You know, you can just keep rolling along. And no, I'm good. But it's interesting. It's funny, like you sort of, when you've had like this ultimate sliding door moment where you actually were, doing what you're supposed to do. You were doing that job on Madison Avenue, and then you just suddenly went and changed. And then it's taken over your life, and you're not the only person we see like this. You know, we hear from so many people on our emails, and the sailing just takes over, and that's all you want to do, and you've progressed and progressed and progressed. Do you ever feel like you're addicted at all? Like you have that sort of feel about it, or it's your life now?
I think so. I mean, right now I have not been on the boat, and we're selling our Pogo 12.5. So anybody who wants it, come find me, because of these new opportunities with my husband, and also, just the business side that I really wanted to go into. And frankly, as a woman, I'm reaching that time in my life. I'm 32, and I have to make decisions about, do I want to start a family? And, it's what a lot of women have to kind of decide at that stage in their career. Being pregnant on a sailboat is just not safe. So, as much as we women want to be as best of the guys are and, compete alongside them, and we do have that inherent kind of motherhood and desire that, you have to make that decision. So, I miss the water so much. I really do. And I look forward to any opportunities that I can go out sailing and will do that. We lived on our boat too. So that live aboard lifestyle, I definitely miss. Half of our year was spent in the Caribbean, and I'm just dying to go back there. The lifestyle and the people, I'm still around the people. So I think that that's what kind of satiates that water addiction, because it's not just being on the water, it's being around some really awesome people and outdoors and, getting away from just being behind the desk all the time. And that's really what I was attracted to, just seeing the world and seeing what you can do with it.
So, all these, as you said, you spent a lot of time in the Caribbean, going down there like multiple times, 5 times, and Rolex Middle Sea race. You ended up doing a bit of work on the ocean race, the Volvo Ocean Race. Do you remember, any interesting interactions in the ocean race?
You might be alluding to my first interactions with Nick Bice. No, he was part of the the boatyard team, and I was part of the events team. And normally in my kind of like working outside type of forward thinking and also really like intensive, I've got my hair up. I'm super focused. And one day I had a nice hair day, and Nick said that my hair looked nice. And that felt good.
Ever the gentleman.
Because, you're behind the scenes, you're working hard. And, sometimes it's nice just to have somebody be like, hey, you're looking good today.
Yeah,
but
it's looking good today.
It was friendly. Yeah. My hair's not me, my hair. Sorry. It was into the air. So yeah, I actually got into the Volvo race. So still working with the team, Canadian Ocean Racing with the IMOCA. They were traveling they're doing their around Canada coast to coast. So Vancouver, Panama, straight to Halifax. And during that time, I was kind of just managing things remotely from media, but not on board. That's when the Volvo Ocean Race was in Newport. So I decided to go over there and just volunteer my time. And I ended up getting involved with the events team. And for one of the prize giving, they handed me a headset and a run of show. And they're like, you're running the stage. And I was like, okay, I can do this.
Here's your access
a little bit more help.
Here's your access to Smartsheet. Put your headset on. Yeah. Off you go.
Oh, yeah. I love Smartsheet. Yeah. So, I end up getting brought on for the rest of the race, going to do Lisbon, Lorient, and Gothenburg stopovers. And that was such an awesome experience, getting like really high level behind the scenes event experience. I'm really into marketing communications, and that's the execution of it, those live events. And I still would love to be involved in the ocean race again in whatever capacity. I think that I love ocean racing, and it's a fantastic event, and it's been run by some amazing people. So I learned so much from Claire, who is running the events team, and the rest of the events chicas. And there's so many women behind the scenes for these events that I think people don't really realize how much, and even teams and stuff, they're not always in front of the camera. So, even for myself, I kind of feel like that's my way to continue. If I do start a family and have kids, that I can be that behind the scenes and, get sailing when I can.
It's actually
maybe for pleasure too.
Quite amazing. The average person wouldn't understand what actually goes on behind the scenes. By all means, like the people at the front, the people in the videos, the people getting interviewed. But how about the prize nights? How about who's going to go on to the welcome stage first? All those sorts of things is a huge, huge team behind it, which
absolutely
they don't get the credit which they should get all the time. So, but I think that's probably, and especially in our sport, it's huge. So all the events teams out there, and just like to say, Chivalry's not dead in the boatyard.
I love it.
It's a good segue into the Magenta project, because at that time, obviously, that was that ocean race was the Team SCA race, and Magenta project came from Abby Ella, Libby Greenhalgh, Annie Lush, and Sally Barker, all good friends of ours. What is the Magenta project for those who don't know it, or what has it been?
So the Magenta project did grow out of the Team SCA, and that they had developed it, I believe, first intentions was to find commercial partners to continue these type of campaigns. But then eventually it turned into a charity for advocacy for women in performance sailing. And then by 2018, it became a mentoring program, and now we are coming upon our 5th year of mentoring class. Now our latest class that's just closing up had 50 females from around the world who are either in, Olympic tracking or offshore, trying to get shorthanded, those high level events, or transitioning from inshore to offshore. And we match them with top talent. And it's really from the team members of SCA and all the great networks that they have, their black books, to be able to get, the legends in our sport to come in and work on one-on-one 9-month off the water mentorships with these young women. So the females in our program, the mentees, are typically, in their 20s, early 30s, starting their careers, that could really use those connections, the guidance, motivation, and really goal setting and planning. While the mentors, originally it was a lot of people in their 40s, well-established careers, and such, but we also have mentees who have now continued on because they have accelerated their careers so well. So we have everyone from Shirley Robertson, who's been a mentor with us, to Emily Nagel, who is a young talent, and I've actually sailed with her myself, and she's really accelerated through her career and just putting herself out there. And I think that, those type of experiences, personal experiences and pathways, because not everybody has the same pathway to success. So having an individual to be able to speak with and share that knowledge, but really network, we know, is everything. So opening doors for women to also have somebody vouch for them and bring them into a network that they otherwise would never have access to.
I think you might want to check on the quality of Emily's mentoring work, because I suspect that Bossy and I have done a tiny bit of mentoring with that young lady. And
I've just chatted with her mentee, and she's really opened so many doors for her. So Emily's great.
We love her. The other one there that pops out to me is, of course, you've got a good example in Abiella there, who's, if you want to have a child, she's done it. She's done the pro racing whilst being a mother, and her partner or husband, Tom, he's heavily involved in the racing as well. So it's not, they've made it work. So you've got a good example. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that popped in my head, and we completely forgot, congratulations, Sally and Francesca, for your baby from a few weeks ago. I apologise we didn't actually mention it, but Sally and Francesca now proud mums. So, just thought I'd better get that out there while I remembered. But, it's the evolution from one of the things that conversation that has come up over and over and over and again is, how do you make better sailors? And, I'm blatantly you drive the base. You've got to grow the base and let the cream rise to the top. And so the whole mentoring approach, the wider you can make that mentoring approach, the more people you can bring in, because they get good experiences and they get good guidance. So, what you're doing is you're sort of coming at the middle, obviously. You get the kids come in, perhaps, and where the problem is that right where you are coming in, I suspect, we lose a lot of women at a certain age, sort of late teens, I think. We lose a lot of women to the sport. And I have no idea why, but, there's a lot of theories. But maybe this mentoring path, the bigger and better mentoring path, is the way to go, Like Emily's the perfect example. She was right at that age, and she's just so determined, and she's doing great work. So,
Yeah, no, I think it's also important too. Like I did mention, a lot of mentors are females, but we do have male mentors, and we want more male mentors, and we want more men involved in the board of directors. And that's a campaign that we're coming out with soon. So we have this directive with the ocean race. It's called Horizon, which is to have by 2030, 50-50 men and women across the board. Now, of teams. Now, this doesn't mean that each team has to have 50-50. It could be an all-female team and different mixes throughout them. But this is we need men to be involved and want to support females. And that's what I've been so lucky to have, male partners and allies that have really supported and allowed me to develop. My husband, particularly when we're co-skippers, everybody comes on board and he's the skipper, but then I drive all the regattas. So, it's a great balance. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities for females to be strong leaders. And I really love seeing what Boris's team on Malizia is doing. They have a female, Rosalind, who has also sailed with my team. And, she's treated as a co-skipper and is just in line with all the other male talent there. So, and it's not just all about him, even though he has competed for Vendée, a solo race. They are going out for the ocean race, a team event, and they're giving equal, support and publicity to female members of their team. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's really important to have these male allies and their efforts and engagement to bring women up to their level.
Is on the Horizons initiative, is that both on and off the water? I mean, kind of going back to my comment before about the events team. Well, that's one side. That's the organizer side, but also within these teams, if you've got a team of 5 sailors, generally there's probably another 5 to 10 on the shore or behind the scenes as well. Is that part of the initiative?
Yes, and also, further making it further than just the support teams, but we really want to establish design teams and more STEM supporters for women in engineering and boat building and design. That there's plenty of talented females, so many who are going into naval architecture and engineering, and just need again that connection, support, and pathways. So we're developing with the Ocean Race those type of mentoring programs, whether it's shadowing umpires to having these type of STEM experiences. And I think that as you mentioned, Jordan, like, there is a drop off. So how do we grab those women and make sure that we're not losing them right after they either leave the junior sailing program or miss an Olympic campaign and don't know where to go, or whatever it may be that causes them to not want to go full-fledged into a particular industry. And these type of mentorships and shadow experiences, apprenticeships, not only help build their careers and experiences that everybody's looking for, but the confidence and the opportunities they need to continue.
Yeah, Guillaume Verdier, remember Bossy, his team's 50% female, I reckon. Remember that design team?
Yeah, absolutely.
All the hard stuff was done by the women, I think, all the tough calculations, that's for sure. One of the things I find interesting, because you're talking about the male mentors, the genius of putting Cole Langford in as one of your mentors, because, what better thing to do than just have all the women watching someone get it completely wrong over and over and over again, and just...
You learn through your mistakes, right?
That's right.
And you're then going to have to learn how to fix things.
That's right.
Pretty rapidly.
Well, I mean, I think that, when you talk about drop off and females need that, you have to have grit and endurance and being able to not get discouraged or, try and find another career path just because you didn't succeed the first few times or whatever it may be. That, you need to, everybody's had failures. And I think that can be career defining. It's career defining for everybody. Either it ruined your career and it ended it, or it made you push yourself further and get over something like that. And that grit is really what separates the best from the rest.
Yeah.
So with your recent appointment within the Magenta project, and there's obviously a lot happening in that space right at the moment, has that come just organically? Originally, the Magenta project was set up to, as you mentioned, to try and find money. It kind of transitioned into this mentor project, and now moving forward again with this equal parity within the sport. Does that happen organically, or was the business plan 5 years ago? Just where's that set?
Yeah, no, I think that there's a little bit of serendipity and timing. And sometimes the universe just puts things out there, because it is really amazing that my appointment is right in line with the announcements of so many different programs, where the Magenta project previously has just been a bunch of really passionate volunteers. And you can only do so much when you have a full-time job and then are also trying to dedicate it to, a charity. And, the board of directors have done so much already. So we're at this point where the Magenta project has so much potential to expand and really make more impact, but needed that energy and attention that an employee will be able to bring to the table, rather than having a bunch of volunteers. So I'm so grateful for all the work that the volunteers have done up until this point, board of directors, mentors, mentees. We still need them, and we need more to join us. And this is kind of a call out for that. Please look us up and see how you can be involved. But I do think that from my business background, marketing, communication, sponsorship, that I really can have that energy and enthusiasm to take the Magenta project to the next level. And I really love partnerships. And and even just the past month, I've had some amazing conversations with Women's World Match Racing Tour, IMOCA, and, lots of different big leagues that want to have women's pathways programs. Everybody's talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we are really trying to be that, the organization that supports that, and that these leagues know that they can come to and have that expertise and foundation, both whether it's talent from our mentors, mentees, network, whatever it may be, to bring these things to life. Because I think a lot of people, it's easy to write a press release and a pledge that we want to include more women, but it's very difficult to execute on that in the right way. That avoids tokenism and segregation and these type of things that I myself am a little wary of. And, on the surface, we have to be like, yay, women's regatta. But, I'm an advocate for mixed teams, and we have such a great opportunity to continue to bring men and women together sailing. So the separation into men and women events, I think it's just as much as we want to put effort into making these things happen, we also have to put the effort and time into how are we going to phase that out. Or how are we going to make it more inclusive with mixed teams, so that the youth can develop together too and be used to sailing with each other, and not just women then being thrown on they're like, okay, you did this regatta, you're good at this level, now go sail with the men. When for the last 10, 20 years, we have been, and we want to more. And I just hope that separating, while it will be great skill building and adding more talent and opportunities, now that instead of having 2 places for women on a boat, there's an entire boat for women. But I don't want to lose those 2 places with the women on the top level boat because they think they already have their own separate thing going on.
It's you raised something interesting there, because we had a young sailor, we specifically have tried to target a few young sailors. We had a Hugo Ralph on in episode 137. And one of the things I commented with the lads was that afterwards, that he's only 15 or 16. He didn't differentiate between sex when talking about sex or based on sex when talking about his competitors. He just spoke equally, whether they were male or female. And I think that's happening. The world is sort of moving that way, so hopefully it continues. And I'm interested. I really want to dig into this whole, get really specific in how you see it working with the regattas, because you clearly you said you talk about tokenism. People can do this stuff for tokenism. You hear of, in the environmental case, you hear the term greenwashing. There's a lot. We're very, as consumers these days, we're very sophisticated, and we see through bullshit pretty quickly. So you're right. There are a lot of events. Every event, the Ocean Race, Sail GP, they've all the major events are talking about equity in sailing. Mm-hmm. So what works? What's the best way to do it?
Yeah, I wish I had that answer. And that's what we're trying to figure out, and having a entity like the Magenta Project to have not only add our opinion, add our expertise, add our experiences, but really measure and report. So I just had a conversation with IMOCA about having some kind of, symposium before one of the events to talk about, I'm trying to do it in a Magenta Day on an IMOCA. That will be coming up in a month, and we'll be announcing that soon. But to be able to say, okay, this structure worked to be able to get these women this experience, and this is a type of format that other teams can implement rather than just asking them to include women. Here's a format that actually worked, and then coming back and seeing like, okay, how did that work out? Where are these women now? So we need to continue with reporting and being open to feedback and things, and saying, okay, that didn't work and this is separating too much. But it's just a willingness to try and admit when things are not right and wrong, and being open to opinions. I think that the cancel culture and things like that, like I can't say I don't like the America's Cup women's regatta because I'm supposed to like women in sailing and more opportunities for women in sailing. But I am wary of, putting them on the youth boat and having, that group separated when they can sail with the guys. So, I think that we just have to try. Let's try. Let's see what works. Let's talk to organizers. Let's talk to teams. But also let's talk to sponsors, like they like women on board. I think they should. How does it work from a media perspective? I often hear that, that you don't want to have an all women's team because the money's not there. And I think that that's just not true. That there are plenty of, especially now with everybody's trying with the ESGs and the DEIs, this is all these like buzzwords and things, but companies are paying attention, and they want to have more opportunities and diversity across the board. And I think that we just need to, like I said, try and see how it works and be open to saying when we're wrong and it didn't.
Are there any sports out there who are doing it better than others, or are we actually quite unique in our space in the sailing world?
I feel like we're so critical of so much that we haven't done yet, but all other sports separate men and women. I mean, aside from like tennis with like mixed doubles and things like that, like what other sports integrate men and women together and allow them to be co-competitors? So I think that is what sailing has from commercial viability. I'm sorry?
Curling.
See, I didn't even know. See, we need to talk about these type of things and maybe learn from them.
No.
But yeah, I think that sailing has a really awesome opportunity. And, I think Dee Kafari had said something along the lines of like, when you're out there, the waves don't care whether you're a female or a male. And that's right. Especially in ocean racing, I think that that's the biggest opportunity, because the strength factor, which is typically why we separate men and women in sports, is because of just pure physical makeup. Those type of barriers or skill separation really starts to dissolve once you're out on the ocean for days at a time. And, Vendée Globe, where a solo female can beat a bunch of guys. And that's just her. That's not because there's men on her team making up for her not being strong enough. She's doing all the work. So those type of things I think are really important, but also being honest about where female may not be in a right position. Like, okay, don't put them on the grinders. The guys are going to be better than just because of pure physical makeup, but navigation and driving and those type of things where physical body structure doesn't necessarily dictate your ability to succeed. I think we need to really highlight those kind of opportunities and placement for women.
Yeah, one of the things that, if you think back, all the major single-handed offshore races, whether it's in the Omokas or in the minis or whatever, women, when there's no hiding in a single-handed race, women have been fighting for the podium. I think our sport is probably leading, and the Magenta project has this, they're part of that whole wave. You guys are pushing that wave forward. So I can honestly say I have never wanted to see less women in the sport. As I don't know any male sailors that would want there to be less women in our sport. The more women, the better. The issue is actually
getting... some good guys.
Hey? What?
Some good guys.
Oh, okay.
There's certainly an older generation, that's a little bit apprehensive for females ruining the boys' club, but I think they're dying off. So
I never thought of the boys' club.
I think you're right, though. And back to Jordan's comment about when we spoke to Hugo, as he mentioned, in his eyes, there was no gender difference at all. In our eyes, yes, but I think we're of the generation that we're learning as we're going. But I can definitely see the experience of the older generation wanting to maintain the boys' club, so to speak. But, you know, those in our eyes, those clubs don't exist anymore.
I mean, personally, I think both you and I could say quite comfortably, Bicey, that if we were on a boat and Abby stepped on board, we'd be ecstatic. You know, like just there's
absolutely
no question. You know, like so it's the same. You know, Sally Barker, if she stepped on any boat that I was on, I'd be absolutely rapt to be on a boat with her. You know, like it's the same. There's plenty of great sailors. I'm pretty certain Shirley Robertson would probably teach me something. Which, you know, there's nobody else in the world that I'd say that about, you know, like I've got a massive ego. I've got to get...
Especially how to present a podcast, for crying out loud, Spencer.
Mentorship opportunity.
No, so I think, you know, I think the difficulty for where we've got to is that these blokes don't know how to go sailing with women. You know, they're used to sailing just men-only boats, and they haven't had that experience. And I think that's slowly breaking down. I think that's all it is. It's just lack of knowledge, lack of experience. There may be exactly that. People stuck in the past, just the men's club thing. Jesus. That'd be terrible.
I think it's all about experience.
Yeah.
You know, once you have a female on board and you see that she's a great member of the crew and maybe even adds an extra element of, you know, a type of like motherly caring for the crew that doesn't exist. You know, she's reminding people to put sunscreen on, and I do feel the role of like motherly for my team, and I'm always making them good food and taking care of them, and you know, I'm not hiding. I embrace my feminine qualities, but I don't make that what defines me either. And, you know, when we're out there, it's not about girls and guys or whatever, but I think that there are feminine qualities that we inherently have, like take compassion and taking care, empathy, and more also like multiple systems management, multitasking, and those abilities that add value to the team. And once you have experience with those female team members and see how much value they add, you won't want to go out without them again.
And not to mention, there's no chance of getting the man flu, of which can definitely take a man down. But also, I just want to say, though, and it's easy to always revert to on the water, but these professional teams off the water, especially, and technically as well. I mean, with a couple of teams I work with, and from a shore point of view, the more females that we had involved from a technical point of view, it's a whole new, different environment. And we tried to promote that as much as we could through the boatyard as well. So that's maybe something to also think about, which I'm sure you are thinking about, but that technical side too is super important, as in the hands-on stuff as well.
Absolutely.
So the question then becomes, what does the future look like for the Magenta project? Is there anything exciting going on?
We have a new campaign launching, which is, as I kind of alluded to, across the board, that we ourselves are restructuring our board of directors with, you know, we're trying to get teams to commit to, or leagues to commit to 50-50 men and women, like the ocean race. So we should also, within our own board, we have a lot of great female talent. So we want to attract more male allies. And it's also about visuals. So previously our logo has been magenta, the color, not pink, magenta, making a clear definition. And we are evolving that into, and that's going to be released soon, to have a CMYK color scheme. So that's cyan, blue for guys, our male allies, the magenta for women, yellow for non-binary, and then key black to represent all diversity allies. So I think visually we need to also take that forward and be able to articulate that this is not just a pink only program. We want it to represent the future of the sailing industry that we envision, which is more diversity and equity across the board. And our approach is leading that with gender. And we feel that having more equity amongst men and women and non-binary would be our best way forward to make the sport as a whole more inclusive.
I think
Smart.
I think
You sure you don't have another job, Jordan?
Yeah.
This is 100% something I can see you on your whiteboard drawing all this up, mate.
No. Well, clearly, I want to point out just how clever you are. Whoever, if this is your work, Meg, very clever, because by the colour cyan.
Cyan, yeah.
Yep. So, the genius of that is that, I'm sitting here going, what's cyan? By calling it that instead of blue, you're going to immediately find progressive men, the ones that understand and are more in touch with themselves. Like us, I had no clue what cyan was. So I just wanted to say it's a filtering. You've put filtering into the whole design as well. So that's quite clever. I'm interested is this been rolled out?
This is coming out this week. So you guys have the exclusive on it. Yeah. So, it's always hard to roll things out in the middle of vacation time, but we want to move things forward. And that's predominantly why I was brought on board, is to help with this restructuring and rebranding process to make the Magenta program more accessible to all, in terms of, having male allies believe that they're a part of this too. And it's not just for women only, that they can be part of the movement and really inspire everybody to join us, and that it's not just about gender. And I really don't want to segregate. I really want to be as inclusive as possible. So, that starts with a mission and a visual that then leads into and goes across everything that we do. So the leagues are already paying attention and coming to us. And we're also doing outreach. And I wish that we could do it all, but it takes time and it takes energy and resources, but we have an amazing network of volunteers, and we want more to join us as either mentors, board of directors. We have a new operations committee that we structured so that people can, fit this into their busy lives. We know it's volunteer, so trying to do only, a few hours a month if they can, but together with a strong vision, it's amazing what we can accomplish and what the group of volunteers has already been able to do.
The diversity allies, just define that for me. So is that...
Well, and it's all encompassing, right?
Yeah.
I think that first, getting just gender parity with men and women is a big thing.
Yep.
But of course, we want to see more diversity across the board from people participating from different, countries and backgrounds. But we know that majority of sailing, it's a socioeconomic barrier.
Okay.
And how do we kind of overcome that so that we do have more diversity in our sport? But it's there. It's not. It doesn't reflect the general population. And again, I think it's because of socioeconomic barriers, and as well as the just the opportunities that people are being offered. But for example, Antigua, as a island nation, has created pathways and programs in their actual school system. They have sailing, youth to keelboat programs in their public schools, as well as diving, because this was in response to seeing in Antigua so many foreigners coming and taking jobs from locals. So they've established a structure and pathway to build the skills of their own people so that they can then participate in the industry that, comes to their island for half a year for, past 50 plus years in terms of professional sailing.
We crap on non-stop on this show about the whole reason Barcarati exists is to bring more people to sailing. So by what you're trying to do now is, you've worked very hard to go the female part, but you just want to make it so now that we spread right through every group. I'll tell you something that we've never been able to put onto the show because we haven't worked out how to do it, is that we get emails from gay athletes who want us to talk to an openly gay sailor. And, you know, that we're happy to do it. We'd love to do it, but we don't want to define a sailor just by their sexuality, you know. Like, we don't know how to sort of bring that forward, you know. I think from the perspective of just the way our sport is, I think the perfect scenario is when you look at the other person, you just look at them as another person. You know, you don't define them by anything. So what you're trying to do is give that opportunity so people feel comfortable coming into our sport. I think that's what I'm interpreting from this.
Absolutely. Just setting up the access and opportunity is the biggest thing. So access is often financial. So, you know, the mentoring program has a lot of value. We need more funding in the Magenta program, and charging for that experience was something that was brought up and shot down within the board because that would defeat the access point. We, you know, want to make it accessible to as many to everybody. So, you know, financials need to certainly be included in that entire strategy. And in addition to the mentoring off the water, we also have a bunch of clinics and workshops that we're working with, and that's in partnerships with teams that are volunteering their time and resources to be able to allow us to offer these types of experiences. But even if we do give these women, you know, a day out on an Imoca 60, they're still having to cover their own cost of travel, accommodations, and other things. So we really need sponsors to step up, and you know, maybe leagues also putting aside a particular budget to support these types of skill building and you know, pathway programs, so that it can truly be accessible to everybody, not just those who can afford it.
Nice. So we've mentioned Abby, Libby, Annie, Sally previously. What other key individuals are you dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I mean, it's through our mentoring group. There's lots of different women who have been involved, and I mentioned a couple of the mentors. But really, I've been dealing. So Libby is one of my go-tos in terms of she's super active, a member of the board. We have a new director of the board chair, John Quill Hackenberg, who comes from the business side in sustainability and consulting and is a recreational sailor. So she has an understanding of the business side. And that's what we do need more of on our board, is those with business acumen, and maybe even outside of the sailing industry, from other sports that have been able to be successful and make it financially viable to have these type of diversity and inclusion programs, because on the surface level, it just sounds like you're asking for a lot of handouts and not necessarily be able to prove what the ROI is. But people do pay attention, and they are interested in these additional opportunities and more diversity across the fleets and participation. But it takes time, you know. At the same time, as much as we don't want to have everything being rich white males, that's still 90% of the viewership. So if the audience is still, you know, the audience is reflective of the participants, chicken or the egg, right? How do you then make the participants more like you want the audience to be? And I think that that's opportunity for expansion with our sport, is to make it more accessible, so that it's not just that, you know, one select old like yacht club kind of vibe, where that it's more like the young, really enthusiastic, diverse sailors that can bring in more different groups to our sport and interest. And then if the audience demographics change, so will the sponsorship.
Okay, so that's the pathway. So if somebody wants to reach out, you know, obviously to help with the funding or help on the board or help in any way, what's the best way they can get in contact? What should they do?
So email contact@themagentaproject.org, and the magentaproject.org has a bunch of resources and more information about us and different ways that people can get involved. So certainly look out for those announcements and follow on social media. there's a lot of different programs and things that our women have been involved in, and even their own campaigns, mentees, then forming teams together and continuing to support each other. So I think that anybody, no matter what level of our sport you're involved in, whatever league, you can find some connections and interest within the Magenta Project, and hopefully consider joining the cause.
So just that email address was contact@themagentaproject.org?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Meg, I think...
Sending in your CV, Jordan?
No. We could do some mentoring, boss. I reckon we could do some mentoring. How not to do things would be our skill set. But, I think that, let's be honest, you and I are both 100% behind this. So, we want...
Absolutely.
What the Magenta Project exists for, we 100% believe in. So whatever it can do to succeed, we're happy for. Tell you what, Meg,
thank you. What
you could do, just quietly, one thing that we're not good at is raising money. So if you ever want to tell us how to do it, we just give everything away for free.
But you guys have a platform, and that's important. I think that people don't realize how important being able to, share these things and spread it out to a bunch of different audience and listeners. So, yeah, we can talk later, though, if you want to go find some money.
I was just thinking in saying that, and just the quick comment, Jordan, all we deal with is stuff that yachties want for free.
Yeah.
Gear and T-shirts.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, you might need to change your model.
Our business model's terrible. It's cost us... I saw we did our tax return the other day and I went, what? How much have we lost? Oh, dear. So, there's one final thing. I wonder, should I do it, Meg, or not? There's one final thing I could do.
I don't know. You didn't tell me what it was.
Shut up, Meg.
Well, I've been hanging to do that the whole time.
The finger's been hovering over the super button.
Yeah, the Family Guy joke. I apologise, but look, it was a ton of fun. Hey, it was interesting.
It's great, Meg.
And congratulations on creating a whole pathway that's just I bet you love it.
Oh, it's been awesome. Yeah. And I want more women to join us. And again, male allies are everything. Thanks you guys for letting us have a platform to share and supporting, females in sailing, wanting to have them as part of your teams. That's everything. And talk about how great it is. We need to can't just be women talking about how great women are. We need men to talk about it too.
That's true. Very cool. Cool. All right. Well, we'll be talking a lot more, I suspect.
I love it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Meg.
Thank you, guys.
You know what, mate? We kind of crap on about all sorts of stuff and kind of bring up different projects that we don't really do or say, but
fizzle out.
I am a whole lot more educated after that discussion right there. And it's actually gives you a bit of the warm and fuzzies a little bit.
I can see why they gave her the job. She's good at I felt embarrassed when you start saying, "Oh, Jordan, your idea's on the whiteboard." I'm going, "There's no way I'm competing with that lass. She's so good."
No, you're right.
So good on the Magenta Project. Let's just see how it goes. Their goal is to bring people into sailing. That's good on them. 100%. So yeah. Cool. Club events, mate. There's some interesting stuff going on. I do want to give a little bit of a plug here to it's about
Malula Bar Yacht Club. Actually, reminds me, the Teagle Classic.
No, I was going to mention the Round Britain and Ireland race. That comes up in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, so a lot of Class 40s there. They've got everything. They've got mockers, they've got bloody trimarans, they've got cruising boats, they've got everything. So it's back on. Just thought I'd bring it up. We'll probably talk more about it, but least 10 Class 40s are racing, so that'll be interesting. Those things are cool. We're big fans, so definitely happy to see that. What else? What else did I want to bring up? There was something I wanted to bring up. Oh, yeah. Okay. We're a sponsor of the Australian Sports Boat.
Sports boats, yep.
And the New South Wales states are coming up. Now, this is a long way in advance. The Shell Harbour Marina is a brand new glamour venue just down the coast from Sydney, and the ASBA is planning a trailer boat extravaganza on the 3rd, 4th and 5th of February. Okay, so it's a new sort of venue that's been set up. It's got it's a whole new waterway that's being dug out. So it sounds like it's going to be like flat, fast water, you know. And it's got supermarket, it's got pub, it's got restaurants. The breakwater blocks the swell coming in, so it should be really fast. You know, like it sounds like it's going to be just a glamour place to go sailing. So
yeah, she looks pretty flash, absolutely. And I've seen some a bit of social stuff of some of the bars and stuff activating down there. Like as far as one just nipping away for a weekend for a regatta. Got to be on the bucket list, for sure.
And the sports boats, they're a ton of fun. Bunch of good fun guys. They've actually offered us a boat, Bicey, to do a regatta at some stage. The Baccarati, 3 of us to do a race. So,
good. Well, I do have one actually. As a matter of fact, if anyone's looking to buy a VX, give us a call.
Yeah. Are you selling your VX already?
Well, no, because for the future plans, we're moving this one on.
Okay,
Newy. Yeah. So, yeah.
Must be good to be the king.
Yeah, how is it, mate?
Okay. All right, so that's cool. So good club events. Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week. This is probably going to be the greatest week ever for Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week. I do not even have a clue how we're going to pick this. My first one that I had written down, we got a note from Nolan Cryer, who's a new listener. He's found us and he just wanted to share the story of Merritt Sellers, who wins the 2022 Bayview Mackinac race with her dad. So apparently they had pretty tough competition. Dad went down for a sleep at night. She stayed up, sat there, trimming sails, steering the boat, eating sun chips and thinking how much she wanted to go to bed, passed the opposition, and they won the race. And, 14-year-old young lady, female sailor, just handing it out at night time, doing her best work at night time. Bit young for that.
Absolutely. Well, yes, a little. But, no, she's got the pedigree there to become something quite sensational.
Yeah, congratulations. And so Nolan's in the running for
I've got one in the running. William Anthony, old Bill.
Oh, yeah.
He's come to us with a suggestion.
Oh, yes.
So he basically, first of all, a shout out to the online training delivered by the ORCB, like the navigation stuff, the weather stuff. It's just, in his eyes, has been something really fantastic. And he has come up with an idea, and literally I was thinking not exactly this, but doing a new run of T-shirts coming up, just to actually get some man sizes out there as well.
I've been thinking about this, Bice, how we can do it better. I've come up with an idea.
Okay, but he does have a suggestion to do some special runs for particular regattas. One of which is pretty close to my heart, as you could imagine.
The rainbow
but
retro.
The rainbow stake titles. It'll be a rainbow flag on the back. But what I will say, Bill, I might have to leave one of those burgees off and fly the other one in. No, of course not. Good idea, though. Listeners, that'll be coming up in a few months' time. So we're just going to put that one on ice for a little bit, but bloody good suggestion, mate. Thanks for getting in contact.
This is a strong segment this week. So here's a good one. We got a note from Randy McMeekin. I love it. I just love this. Got us a bit emotional.
This is a great one.
Yep. G'day, lads. Want to give you guys an update on our mutual friend, Denise Del Mundo.
Now, mentioned her many times.
Denise.
And might I add, the first one to find the discount code for buying a bit of merchandise, but I did have someone else this week.
That we didn't
throw in
even
the
know
discount
existed.
code, got $2.50 off a T-shirt. By the way, if anyone knows how or where those discount codes come from, just let us know.
Because we paid full price. That's the funniest thing. We have to pay full price for our own T-shirts. So anyway, as you know, massive fan of Barkarati and former listener of the week. Randy has known Denise for 35 plus years, and she's been a wannabe sailor for decades. However, like many of us, life got in the way of her dreams. A couple of years ago, she eventually found herself without kids or a husband. Probably a little too much info. Sorry about that. So she doubled down on her sailing dreams. Reached out to me for advice. I told her to get the basic credentials, sign up as a crew on any race boat, and would take her and never say no to a sailing experience. I am so proud of what she has accomplished in a short period of time. Achieved her CanSail Level 2 basic training. She's now a key member of the Voodoo Child Racing Team, a C&C 33, sailing out of Ashbridges Bay Yacht Club. Member of the Westwood Sailing Club and Ashbridges Bay Yacht Club. Races Albacores at Toronto Friday night racing. She's crewing on a Toronto legend George Peterson in his Taser. She's put her name on the list for a J105 Women's Championships, which will happen later this summer. I wanted to pass on to you guys, Barkarati was a big motivation for Denise in realising her dreams. The work you do goes way beyond banter. It changes lives. And he sent us a whole bunch of pics of her sailing. Bringing tears to my eyes, that one, Bossy.
Bloody oath. So it actually, again, gives the warm fuzzies. So that's a good one. Randy, in the running. We got another one, Graham Roundtree.
Oh, this has to win. This is just the smartest
G'day,
email
lads.
anyone's ever sent.
Oh, mate, this is just stroking the ego like you wouldn't believe. G'day, lads. I thought you might be interested in checking out the winner of Pleasant Point Yacht Club's second annual Barkarati Pursuit Race. Young Max reckons he should be the skipper of the Ranger Challenge. So basically, he sent a photo in of young Max. I'd say he's probably 12 or 13. And, mate, he has got a do.
He is a legend.
A do you would be proud of, Jordan, and you've got some bloody nice hair. It's a bit of a theme going on in this show tonight. So I did have a look at it, Graham, and I'd noticed Barkarati Pursuit Race isn't mentioned on the trophy. But, hey, we'll roll with it.
Oh, dear. Hey, so much good stuff. It is, look, I know we crap on, we get lots of emails, but, gee, there were some good ones this week. They were really good emails. So, Jack Lloyd, Listener of the Week, I've got no idea. I mean, you know where my heart lies, but...
I think I'm pretty happy with Randy in my book. I guess you just... saw the picture which the listeners couldn't and thought, is that my love child?
I'm tempted to put his photo up. I really am. But
I think we should.
But
are there any rules against that?
I don't know. There are children, actually. I think we'll just leave it off just in case we don't want to get any parent upset. Impressed with the story of Merritt. So happy to hear the stuff about Denise. So, like the whole thing. It's just a win-win. But, it makes us feel good. So, anyway, there you go.
Yeah.
So
there's one final one.
Oh, yeah?
John Schaefer.
Oh, what have we done now?
It's not what we've done. It's what he has done.
Oh, what's he done?
He's joined the Land Rover team.
Oh.
He's brought himself a Defender. It might be the new one, and it might be for his wife, but... he's a proud Land Rover owner. So, congratulations, Shafe. Welcome to the game.
Boss.
Wasn't going to take long.
Boss. I'm going to have to let you in on a secret.
What, John Schaefer doesn't have a wife and he didn't buy a Defender?
No. No. Remember last week we had this big discussion about how now I'm a four-wheel drive owner as well.
Oh, yeah.
And you've been off the show for a couple of weeks, right? What happened?
Well, one, yeah.
Because you were out on your Defender and we talked about how you broke down a few times.
Yeah, I've had that mentioned a few times.
Yeah. What has happened and that you didn't know about, and it's time to let you know, is the listeners were concerned, boss.
Yeah, I know. People are saying, Jordan just keeps talking about your car breaking down all the time.
So what they did was they rallied around and raised money, and they've asked me and sent the money so we could buy a reliable four-wheel drive to be able to tow you out, and that is how the Mazda.
That's how you ended up with a Mazda. Well, they obviously didn't get much money then. Obviously aligns with the model.
Don't you knock the big white whale.
Nice. Beauty.
No, congratulations, Shafe, mate. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'd have one of those defenders in a second. They are glamour.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. All right.
Ole, 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 ole. Feeling hot, hot, hot.
It's hot time with Bice.
Feeling hot, hot, hot.
We did Hot Time with Hayley the other week.
Yep. Correct. Mate, I was going to mention, it's a pity actually when we're recording on a Sunday night, because there's a couple of regattas going on at the moment, including the TPs at the moment, Port of Patals.
Yes.
Currently being led by Interlodge. So unless there's some sort of conniption on the final day, that'll see a new person at the top of the podium, or a new boat for that matter. So everyone will be getting behind that.
Yeah,
But,
there's going to be a lot of people jumping into the airport to zoom across to Plymouth from that regatta.
Yes, and that's obviously the next big one coming up. Speaking of which, you're on the Bird Tuesday night, and basically it's next weekend.
Next weekend, yeah. So Sail GP Plymouth, the third event of the season. I think it looks pretty interesting. I think I don't know what the weather. I haven't had a chance to look at the weather or anything yet, but it's definitely going to be a good regatta. You know, we've been enjoying it, a lot of fun. Plymouth, the harbour, looks like a really good little venue for it. Obviously, what we've got is the Aussies are still obviously having won the first two rounds, but the standout, of course, with the Canadians. Wonder if that will keep going. That's one of the big stories. Great Britain now sitting in third. The fact that we've lost Team Japan, or Japan,
which we haven't necessarily spoken about that in too much detail, but apart from it's probably writing on the wall a few weeks ago when it was mentioned.
We did give the secret away that basically, they had a certain number of weeks, and if they didn't have any luck, they were gone. Devastated for those team members, those sailors.
Absolutely.
Devastated, especially when you consider they got second season one, second season two, and they were right there, and they were, really changed the way the racing was sailed. So I feel really bad for them. Nathan's all right. He's got Team New Zealand commitments, so he's good.
Well, do I have to say it again? Is this a bit of a conspiracy? We all know Russell and Dolks probably don't see eye to eye at the best of times. Is there something to be read into?
God, boss, you think of everything, don't you?
Probably not. But we'll talk it up as much as we can. What I did want to talk about, though.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen a couple of weapons leaving the shed this week in Lorient. In one with Jeremy Bayou's new boat, Samuel Manoir's designed Charal has popped itself out of the shed, as well as our good friend Boris and Militia VPLP design coming out the shed. Now, the boats themselves, kind of the bow sections, are they all looking quite similar, but Charal itself, she's one end of the scale.
Yeah,
From what I haven't whacked the tape measure over it.
Yep.
But she's looking quite narrow.
Yep.
And it's all reliant on the foils. And also so narrow indeed that the rudders, the traditional transom hung rudder on the 60s, they're quite separated.
Yes.
Literally the top of the rudders are touching at the on the transom.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? It's definitely weird, but cool boats. And the other thing, you're more of an expert on the rules than these to me, but it's very difficult on the Omoka 60s to get that full scow bow that, like you see in the Class 40s and the Minis. more particularly in the minis, you can't quite do that with the way the rules written. But they've really gone for it on these two boats, haven't they?
Yeah,
So-
I think, and the dimensions might be wrong here, but at a certain measurement after the stem, they cannot be wider than whatever that measurement may be. Like, say it's a metre behind the stem, they can't be more than such and such. But two completely different beasts, basically, is what I'm getting at, have come out. Of course, Samuel Manuard is not obviously quite prominent in the 40s and stuff, but not a heap of 60s apart from the L'Occitane on the water.
Which is pretty quick. She's a rocket ship.
Which is now showing, actually going very well. So I'm pretty interested to see what's going to happen here. But more to my point, how good did it look when they the whole show of it coming out the shed with Chiral specifically, nighttime, had all the LEDs lit up, the front of the foils lit up. It was an bloody fantastic show.
Yeah.
That was put on.
Just super cool. I mean, I remember when Chiral 1 came out, like that just blew our minds. Do you remember when that came out? Yeah. And now,
Exactly.
And he had such bad luck at the last Vendée, had to go back and sit there for a while. So it took, we never really got to see if it could shine, but I guess he's really going to go for it this time. So, yeah, big team, big, strong team. The other thing I took, if you look at the photos of the Milica team, we got a lot of friends hiding in that team, haven't we?
Yes, we certainly do. And they did a lot of they just look like they're having fun.
That's exactly the other thing I was going to get to. They do look like they're having fun. Boris is always smiling. Have you noticed that? He's always smiling. And, it's just that team looks super cool. And he did a great job until the French cut him down just before the finish. But, in the last one, sorry, the fishing boat. I'm going to get in so much trouble. We will never be allowed near the Vendée. And, of course, Will Harris is on board. Rosalind Kuiper is on board, who we both know really well. So, that team's going to go great. Rosalind's just super positive, and Will, super talented as well. They're both all very talented. So, I'm actually just looking at a website with the pictures of Milica's launch, and I'm just looking down the ads on the side because you know how they remember what your search history is. I think,
well, we all know what comes up on mine. So.
Well, it looks like I'm fairly keen on going on a cruising yacht at some stage, mate, is all I'll say.
There you go.
And I've been repairing something because there's West Systems epoxy popped up as well. So anyway, right, cool boats. Very cool.
Route to Run this year, it's going to be massive. Couple of new boats on the water. Yeah, and all the other ones are just getting faster, and a couple of new ones coming out the stable as well.
Yeah, good times. What else is happening? 18-foot Skester in Lake Garda doing the Euros. That was cool.
Yes.
So congrats to the Lazarus Capital team, and then Rag and Famish in second, and then a German team in third, the Black Knight. Heinrich von Bayern, Tom Martin, and Andy Martin. Gee, they're good German names, those three.
Yeah, they are absolute classics.
Lake Garda, the 18s. I bet you they've been hanging to do that. But, yeah, so that's a cool one. And then the other one that John Spencer was talking about this week was the 505 Worlds coming up in a couple of weeks. So what happens is I go from Plymouth and then across to Cork for the 505 Worlds to, I don't know, just try and do a few interviews after racing and try and...
A bit of a man on the ground, a bit of BT in the locker room, so to speak.
Yeah, the class, it's such a cool boat, such cool sail. It's like find one of the press releases with the sailors. It's going to be an intensely difficult Worlds to win, is all I'll say.
Yep.
I I don't know who to put my money on at the moment. I've got a press release to come out with where Pip Pearson's made his predictions.
Oh,
Yes. Yep.
you've tapped into the Oracle.
The Oracle, Pip Pearson. Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder how many drinks he's had on board. He's gone pretty low risk on his tips. I feel I have to be critical. He's just, he's...
Do you tell him Sir James isn't sailing anymore?
And there's Paul Elstrom. But, it'll be a good regatta, that one. I can't wait to get it. Like, let's be honest, Bossy. I'm going to Plymouth to watch a bit of Sail GP sailing, right?
Then you're going to Crosshaven to watch a bit of Five O's.
I'm going to be in Ireland. I'm going to be in Ireland at a yacht club, and I don't have to sail. My life's going to be pretty good for a few weeks.
Yeah, shit house. Welcome to the club, my friend. Welcome to the club.
The only risk we run is professional
Trying to
production of Barcarati.
Well, you're not taking the production team? Oh, yeah. They'll come with you. Going with you. Yeah.
Oh, dear. Cool. Anything else?
Good. No, that's it from me.
No taking the Defender anywhere for a few weeks?
No, I've got to get my head in the game and start doing a bit of work.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. Excellent. All right. Well, good show. I hope the listeners enjoyed it. I hope everyone has fun. And we've got a pretty solidly booked lineup for the next few weeks, haven't we?
We're almost booked solid for a good 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, and super high quality.
So if you want to come on the show, get in line.
Yeah, you better reach out because the line's lengthening. All right. Yeah, cool.
Cool, mate.
Good on you, everyone. Thanks for listening.
BP's back. Comes in just at the right time.
Still there for the music.
All my stars are around tonight. Take me where the